Okay. Okay, welcome everybody to the February general meeting of Solidarity Lowell. This meeting is being recorded. By staying in the meeting, you are agreeing to be recorded. I am your moderator tonight, Joseph Boyle from the Solidarity Lowell Coordinating Committee. To speak, please raise your hand. Meaning either raise your hand in your window or use the little raise hand device, or put an asterisk into the chat. Our stacker tonight is Dee Halzak, and she will be keeping an eye out for those things to see if anybody wants to speak. Our timekeeper tonight is Marissa DuPont. Captions are available if you wish to turn them on. We are asking everybody to remember our step up and step back practices. We want to make sure everybody gets a chance to be heard, and we want to hear what everyone else has to say. So if there's a conversation going on and you haven't contributed, please step up. And if you have contributed, please step back and make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. Assume positive intentions, and please, especially on Zoom, we all know this, please speak slowly and clearly. So the agenda tonight, we are going to start off with brief attendee intros, our land acknowledgement. We'll then introduce Solidarity Lowell, share news and committee updates we have, give an opportunity for our allied organizations to update us on what they've been doing. And then our featured speaker tonight is Sam Salem from Mass Home and Shelter Alliance. So, to start off, let's introduce ourselves. Give your name, your pronouns, where you live, and our icebreaker today, how would you describe your day in one word? So, I'm your moderator, Joseph Boyle, he, him. I live in the Highlands here in Lowell. How would I describe my day in one word? Recovery. I was out of work last week with COVID. So I'm feeling better, still tested positive, hoping I'm going to get a negative test and I can go in tomorrow. I will call on Ryan.
All right, my name is Ryan Hammond. My pronouns are he, him. I live in the Acre. And if I could describe my day in a single word, it would be varied. I did a little bit of cleaning around the place today. I got ready for the meeting, and I watched Devil in a Blue Dress, which is a marvelous film noir set in the post-war era in Los Angeles, starring Denzel Washington and Don Cheadle. Wonderful stuff. And I will pass the mic to Judith Durant.
Hi, I'm Judith Durant, she, her. I live in the Highlands on Viola Street, and my day today was productive. I attended a fundraising event for Alternative House, and it was packed with people who spent money on raffle tickets and bought the tickets, and raised a lot of money for a very good cause.
All right.
And I will call on Victoria, because I don't know Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria Voice, she, her. I live in downtown Lowell on Dutton Street, and my day has been unproductive. I've been trying to job hunt all day and haven't applied to one job, but I did go for a walk, and I'm here, so. I haven't been here in a while, that's why nobody recognizes me. So, and I'll pass to John Grossman, because I know him.
John Grossman. I live in Lowell in Pawtucketville. Volunteer with 350 Mass and work for SEIU 509. My word for the day would be outside. I was outside at a rally for a ceasefire earlier, and then I took a long walk, as others seem to have done, along the river. And I will pass it to Linda.
Linda, you're still muted if you're introducing yourself. Okay, Linda may have stepped away. Let's go to Marissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa DuPont. My pronouns are she, her. I live in South Lowell, and I would describe my day as relaxing. I did very little. I read some, I did some stuff on the computer, and then I watched Murder, She Wrote. And I would, let's see, pass it to Chris.
Okay, Chris Offerman, pronouns she, her, live in downtown Lowell in one of the old mill buildings, but describes most of Lowell. And my word of the day is, to nobody's surprise, German, because it started out with my siblings WhatsApping me with all kinds of questions about family history. And since I'm the family historian, I had to go and dig back into all my information and send them the answers. So, and I'm calling on who hasn't been called on yet. G, did you go yet?
Hi, Dee Halsack, she, her. I live in the Acre. I would describe my day as better because yesterday was a series of fiascos culminating with blowing up something in my microwave. So today is better, definitely. I will call on Kate.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Kate. My pronouns are she, her. I actually live in Tewksbury, but I went to school in Lowell and lived there for quite a bit of time. So I've got my connections there still. And I would describe my day as energetic. I had to go into work for a little bit this morning, and I was able to do a lot of things there, get a lot of stuff done, and I still had the energy to go and hang out at the mill for a little bit afterwards, which was nice. And now I'm hanging out with all of you wonderful people. Oh, and I will call on Mitchell.
Hey, actually, I'm already unmuted. Hey guys, Mitchell Pollan, he, him. I live in the Acre. Member of the coordinating committee. And I would just say my day's been busy. Since I went to the farmer's market. Then we went out and ran some other errands, and I went back to the mill to do some other stuff there and came back and did this. There's been running around doing stuff. And next is who have we not called on yet? Well, Tom Barrington just got here.
Hello, Tom.
Hello,
Can-
Tom.
Hello. Hi.
Can we introduce you with your name, your pronouns, where you live, and how would you describe your day in one word?
Okay, I'm Tom Barrington. Hi. My pronouns he, him. I live in North Chelmsford, and one word is confused. I showed up early for the meeting at the church.
Oh, geez.
Oh no.
It's 20 minutes away. It's good to be with y'all.
All right. Good to have you with us, Tom. Let me see who hasn't gone. Dee introduced yourself. Judith did. Sam, have you introduced yourself?
I have not, and I'll pass it off to Amy, I think, and then I think that will be everyone. But hi, everyone. My name is Sam. My pronouns are she, her. I live in the Acre, and I would describe my day as I think a couple other people said this, but productive. I feel like that's what Sundays are for. Just getting stuff done for the week. And I'm happy to be here with you all tonight. And I'm going to pass it over to Amy.
Thank you. I was going to say last but not least, but I just heard a noise. So maybe somebody else just logged in. But hi, Amy Baranowski. Pronouns are she, her. I live in District 4, that weird little bit on the edge of the Acre downtown area. I am also going to say productive because I did a bunch of cleaning and I did a bunch of cooking. I made a really good gratin with potatoes and zucchini. Yeah.
Okay. Linda, have you successfully unmuted?
She
No.
said switching to her iPad. So,
Okay.
I mean, to her phone. Give her a minute.
Okay. And we have one other person joining us. The name's on there as OzOX.
Also,
We know him.
and also Dan O'Connor hasn't gone yet.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hi guys. It's OzoX. My pronouns he, him. I live 201 Middlesex. How would I describe my day? Very interesting, very artsy as always. It was a wonderful day. Thank you.
That's great. And I think last we have Dan O'Connor.
Hi, I'm Dan O'Connor. I live in Dracut, a Dracut resident, although I do a lot of volunteer work in the city of Lowell. And my day, boy, I'd have to describe it as pretty unproductive.
Good for you, Dan.
Yes.
Day of rest. Okay, I think that is everybody. So thank you all for joining us today. Moving along, like to offer a landed acknowledgement. We are in different places, different parts of Lowell, and some of us outside of Lowell, but in this area, we stand on the land of the following nations: the Wabanaki, the Downland Confederacy of the Wabanaki, the Pennacook, the Pawtucket, the Pentucket, and the Agawam. This information is from nativeland.ca. What is Solidarity Lowell? For those of us joining us for the first time, if anybody, Solidarity Lowell is a volunteer group of Greater Lowell community members working towards social justice by defending the human rights, dignity, and equality of all against hate and discrimination. We welcome new members. The Solidarity Lowell Coordinating Committee is your elected team of volunteers running the meetings, organizing events, disseminating relevant news, and sharing calls to action. Coordinating committee elections are held in April. If you're interested in joining, please contact us after the meeting to learn more. Progressive Massachusetts. Solidarity Lowell is a chapter of Progressive Mass. Progressive Mass is a statewide member-driven grassroots organization committed to fighting for a vision of shared prosperity, racial and social justice, good government, and environmental sustainability in Massachusetts. Visit progressivemass.com or contact us after the meeting to learn more. We like to celebrate our victories. Recently, City of Lowell, Lowell Public Schools received almost $1 million for pre-kindergarten, thanks to funds raised by the Fair Share Amendment passed in 2022. The Fair Share Amendment, if you recall, was the millionaire's tax. It's already paying off for our education in the city. Three local organizations, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, Lowell Catholic Schools, and the Lowell Community Health Center received grant awards from the Commonwealth Nonprofit Security Personnel Grant Program, an ongoing grant program that makes state funds available to nonprofit organizations at risk of terrorism or hate crimes due to their missions or the services they provide. The first 5 turbines of Vineyard Wind are now online and producing power. This project will eventually grow to 800 megawatts. After decades of effort to get offshore wind built off of Massachusetts, it is online and running. Does anybody have anything else positive they'd like to share?
I think I'd just like to mention that Lavinia Farusa, she's the executive director of the Dwelling House of Hope Food Pantry here in the city. And she is going to be honored by the Boston Celtics at their home game this coming Friday.
Good for Lavinia. That's great.
And also, speaking of the Dwelling House of Hope, they do a number of community building events during the course of the year, usually generally one a month. And there's one coming up. It's the Mighty Movers Women Awards, and it's part of International Women's Day. And they honor, I think, 5 or 6 local women for their contributions to the community. And that's, if anybody's interested, I can get you the flyer. It's open to all.
That's excellent. And yeah, if could you send something, if there's an announcement or something by email or
Sure.
or messenger or something, send it in and we'll be able to share that.
Yep.
Did I see somebody else with a hand up? Okay, Tom, was that you?
Yes. This is actually not new, but it was brand new to me that there is a film called Contradictory Place, Cotton Mills Along Anti-Slavery Efforts in Lowell, Massachusetts, that was produced by Robert Ferrant and Ritza Grooms. There was a showing of it at the
National Park?
The National Park, yeah, the National Park Theater. It's been out for a couple of years, but hasn't been distributed. It is a fascinating look at the anti-slavery efforts in Lowell that are in light of the fact that Lowell's existence was from the cotton produced by the slaves. And it's a very interestingly and well-produced piece. I recommend it. It's on YouTube, and I will put a link to it in the chat in a little bit. But it just was really cool to listen to Bob Ferrant and Ritza Grooms talk about it, who are the 2 narrators of the film.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a good
great.
history and a hard history. And there's still this is still a contradictory place. It's part of the discussion.
I remember before they did the recent renovations years ago, you'd walk into the visitor center and there was this massive mural, a photograph of a cotton field of African Americans working in a cotton field. And there was a big old bale of cotton from back then placed in front of it. So you were confronted with that as soon as you walked in the door.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Did I see another hand with good news? I see Dee
Ryan
first
had
and
his
then
hand up.
Ryan.
All right, this is tentative, but the UAW has announced an attempt to unionize Amazon's Rivian electric car plant, and several of the Rivian employees have said that they are very receptive to this. Now, granted, Jeff Bezos has also stated his intention to crush any and all union drives by any means necessary and to scuttle ships rather than see shops unionized, because he is a vampire. However, there have been reports from Rivian employees about horrible adversarial work environments and a complete disregard for their safety and for decent wages. So this is something that is necessary. I don't know what the odds are, but someone has to try. And the fact that the Rivian employees are in many cases willing to put themselves in the front line speaks to their courage.
Dee?
Marissa had her hand up before.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought your hand was up. Okay. I wanted to ask Dan if he would send me that flyer too. If you get it to me by tomorrow, I can get information into our weekly newsletter.
Will do.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Just while you're on the Mighty Movers Award, there's a note, and I remember it. Chris won the award last year.
That's right. Oh, I see we have been joined by Zoe. Zoe, thanks for coming. I'm not going to make you go through the whole introductory thing, but it's good to have you here. Let's see. Okay, All right, next, the elections committee. Dee had some announcements.
It's just what's on the screen. So we're organizing a meeting with Rodney Elliott, and if you would like to attend, especially if you're a constituent, please let us know. The primaries are March 5th. There's also, at the same time, there's also elections for Democratic State Committee. And we're trying to motivate people to get out and vote. And
Hey, Dee, while we're on this point, could you just briefly, or somebody on the committee briefly explain why we have two primaries this year? What's in March and what's in September?
March is the presidential primary.
Presidential
And it
and
was
its
also,
committees.
it was also a good time to do state committee stuff. The fall primary is for the legislature.
Okay, we'll have state rep races then.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Nomination papers are out now and people are working on collecting signatures. So if you'd like to help with that, get in touch with us. And last but not least, Mitchell Pollan and Judith Durant are running for positions on the Democratic State Committee. And they're both here today, so they could say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Let's start with Judith. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Judith Durant. I live in the Highlands. I was brought up in Tewksbury, and then I went to college in Boston. When I was 25, I moved to New York City, which was quite an eye-opening experience. I went there to become a famous costume designer. That didn't exactly work out the way I had hoped, so I followed a career into, or a path into publishing, and had a very good publishing career that lasted more than 30 years. I had my first experience living in a red state when I got hired in a company out in Colorado. And my husband and I left New York City and went to this rural place in Colorado. And I admit to being a little bit nervous when I went to register to vote at the town hall. And when I was asked by the woman behind the counter if there was a particular party I wanted to register in, and I said, "Oh yes, I'm a Democrat." There was a pause, and she looked at the only other person in the room and said, "That's two this week." It was very difficult, but we managed to survive 6 years in Colorado. And then we moved back to this area in 2001 to take care of my aging parents. And we bought a house in the Highlands where we've been now for almost 23 years. Despite being raised by Republican parents, I identified as a Democrat early on. I registered as a Democrat when I was 16, and I have always voted that way. And the reason mostly is that I think that Democrats hold on to the position that it is our responsibility as a country to provide opportunity for those who can learn and work. And it's our obligation to take care of those who, for whatever reason, cannot. And in that country, that means being a Democrat. I was never really involved in politics beyond voting and paying attention until when we were back here and I was commuting back and forth. I was into Boston. I had a publishing job in Boston, and there were lots of people on the train just chatting openly. And I was surprised that they weren't all talking the way I believed and the way government works and all of that. And they were talking about reelecting George Bush. And I said, where am I? I thought I was back in Massachusetts where it's safe. Anyway, George Bush got reelected in 2004, and I decided then that I would never sit through another election. So I became involved in politics. I went up to New Hampshire in 2008 and knocked on a slew of doors for Obama. I worked for Elizabeth Warren's campaign in 2012 and 2013. I volunteered for Markey. I've worked with Vesta Noon and I work with Tara Hong on their campaigns. I joined the Democratic City Committee in 2016. I served as committee chair for 5 years, and I still serve as Ward 8 chair. And I'm also active with CARE, which is the Coalition for Anti-Racism and Equity in Education. And our motto there is teach us history, all of it. So that's who I am. I'll stop now.
All right, thank you, Judith. And Mitchell?
Hey guys, it's Mitch Pollan, obviously, since I introduced myself earlier. I just wanted to more generally, yeah, I am running for one of one of the men's seats for the Democratic State Committee next month. I wanted to more generally mention what's happening next month, which is that all of the parties hold state committee elections using the presidential ballot. And the state and local committee seats are elected for terms of office of 4 years, just like the president. So that's one of the reasons why, and we hold those 2 elections in Massachusetts. One for most of the state offices in the fall, but one's for the president and for the state and for the party offices early in the spring, so that because those have an effect on how the state parties conventions play out, which are usually held later in the spring, like in May or sometimes in June. And again, the March ballot is not just about the president. It is your opportunity to have a voice in your state and local party. One of the reasons I'm running is because I'd like to see the party do a better job emphasizing that. Because they ultimately, whether an organization like Solidarity Lowell, a state party committee, or even a local party committee, your city ward or your town, what it is and what it does is a function of the people who participate in it. Keep in mind that there are eight wards in Lowell, each of which have a party committee for each party. Those can have up to, at least in the Democrats, they can have up to 35 members each. The Republican ones are slightly smaller. Each town has a town party committee. There are lots of spots that no one is running for this spring. So if you are interested in joining a committee, and like I said, committees do as much as the people who join them. Solidarity does as much as the people who participate in it, but it's doubly true for political party committees. If you want to join one, they usually hold organizing meetings in April, based on to organize around the results of the March election. But you can write yourself in too. For an unopposed spot, you need to contact your local elections official, let them know that you're interested in running for the spot, give them your name and your address, and then you need to get at least 5 write-in votes. But I believe all of the jurisdictions here, all 8 Lowell wards and the town committees of the surrounding towns have unopposed spots on the ballot that are up for yours if you want to make a difference in your party, in your local party. And I strongly encourage you to do so. Because this is your opportunity to make a difference in what the future of the parties looks like. And I hope I can count on your vote, next month, obviously, for both the local committee in Lowell, which I'm a member of, and the chair of Ward 7, but also for the state party as well.
All right, thank you, Mitchell. I wanted to let everybody know I received in the mail nomination papers for the Register of Deeds candidate. Is it Joe Reddy?
It's Joe Reddy, yeah.
Joe Reddy, yes. I have those at my place if anybody wants to sign those.
I think a bunch of us got them. I got them today too.
You got them too?
Yeah.
Excellent. Is that one of the September?
Everything except for the president and the
committees.
and the party committees is on the September ballot.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything else for the election committee?
No.
Okay, moving on then. The Merrimack Valley Interfaith Sanctuary Network, Marissa.
Hi, everyone. I'm the volunteer coordinator for the Merrimack Valley Interfaith Sanctuary Network. We have been supporting a couple of asylum seekers. One of them, Lillian, she's an asylum seeker from the Dominican Republic. Oh, and my cat's saying hi. She'll hopefully be getting a more permanent apartment soon. And by soon, I mean maybe tomorrow. Fingers crossed. It's been dragging out for a really long time, but Raft finally came through and she will hopefully be moving in this week. So she'll find out tomorrow. But if you would like to assist with, moving costs and furniture and all of that stuff, donations are greatly appreciated, or gift cards, and those can be given to me and I'll pass them along. You can Cash at me or Venmo, or checks or cash or gift cards, just email me and I'll arrange to drop them off to her. We'll figure out a time to get together.
Okay.
For that.
Also, Marissa is our Unpacking Whiteness dialogue group.
Yes. So the Unpacking Whiteness dialogue group explores racial biases, white supremacy, white privilege, explicit and implicit bias, systemic racism, and microaggressions. This it's supportive, structured dialogues that meet. It's five sessions, one a week, and it's capped at 10 people. And after you attend that, you can join the ongoing dialogue group, which meets once a month, and we alternate between discussing a book or watching a film. If you have any questions, please let me know, or you can sign up at bit.ly/UW-sign up. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, Zoe has her hand up.
Oh, Zoe?
Hi, I'm sorry again for joining late. I was coming off another meeting, but I just wanted to, I don't know if it was mentioned, it's not just Joe Reddy that's running for the Registry of Deeds. It's Sakari Chow as well as Karen Casella.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a competitive race.
Okay, yes.
All right. And the rapid response team. Dee?
So upcoming things that we hope people will pay attention to. On Thursday night, Progressive Massachusetts is having a Leap Day trivia night. A chance to have a lot of fun with other progressives before we get down to serious business later this year. And the Massachusetts Coalition for the Homeless is holding a legislative action day on Thursday, March 7th at the State House. There will be speakers in the morning, and people will make appointments with their legislators and visit them to advocate for the bills the coalition is pushing. And if you need help making appointments when you register to participate in the event, there's a link to register, and you can tell them that you need help contacting your legislators or signing up an appointment. It's not really hard. It's just sometimes hard to get them to respond to you, but having an organization to help you helps. That's it.
Thank you, Dee. Okay, upcoming Solidarity Lowell events. Leap Day Trivia on the 29th, as we just mentioned. Massachusetts Coalition for the Homeless Action Day on Thursday, March 7th. An Emergency Housing Coalition meeting on Sunday, March 3rd at 2 p.m. at the UML Wish Project building at 150 Wilder Street. These are the meetings we have been joining our friends from the Llamas and other people in that circle to discuss mainly homelessness issues, housing and homelessness issues, and organize activism around that. The Lowell Hunger and Homeless Commission meeting is on Wednesday, March 6th at 12 p.m. And we are having our monthly DDD, Demonstrate, Dine, and Discuss, Friday, March 15th at 6 p.m. at the Whitney and Ladd Memorial. We mentioned that earlier. We're continuing with themes about homelessness and housing.
You'd like me to speak about that? All right, we are going to meet in front of the memorial in front of City Hall. It will be at 6 p.m. again, like every time. That is coming up Friday, March 15th, as you said. And we'll be there depending on weather for half an hour to an hour. We will hold up signs and discuss and welcome anyone who wants to come with us in good faith to stand against the forces that create gentrification and mass homelessness. And then we will adjourn at 7 p.m. or 6:30, depending on weather again, the Sizzling Kitchen to eat and talk more and try doing some coalition building. We look forward to anyone who can attend with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. Allied group updates and announcements. This is an opportunity for people to discuss the other groups that they're involved in and let us know what activism is available outside of Solidarity Lowell. So does anybody have anything?
Dan O'Connor and John Grossman have their hands up.
Oh, okay. John?
Thank you. So as most of you know, I volunteer with 350 Mass of Greater Lowell, the climate justice group, and two announcements from there. One is that we're working with the Resilient Schools Coalition to set up a little group here in Lowell to advocate for more sustainable school buildings as well as climate curriculum. There's a couple of teachers involved with this as well as some of the activists. And if anybody's interested in that, let me know. Secondly, our electric services provider, National Grid, I think you probably heard of them, put in a request to raise their rates. And there's going to be a public hearing about that on March 12th at 7 p.m. in Lawrence, South Lawrence East Elementary School. When you think about it, you know, most of us can't go to a public hearing to address the cost of our rent or mortgage, but you can go to one to address the cost of your electric bill. And maybe you know people or you yourself would like to go and talk about how much of a share of your income goes to utility bills, and how maybe it would be nice if we could incentivize people to switch to electric heat and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, but we can't really do that until we can, well, we can do that, but it's hard for people until we can address the price of electricity. So this is a chance to have a say in that, and I encourage you to attend and or spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Dan, I think you were next.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Hunger Homeless Commission meeting on the 6th. We were actually going to have a speaker from Project Bread. Also, Mill City Grows is going to come and talk about the community food partnership. We're going to have some presentations on utilization trends by Merrimack Valley Food Bank, WIC, and SNAP. And I think we'll have somebody from Mass Law Reform talking about budget and policy issues. We're also going to be having somebody from the Mass Coalition from the Homeless is going to drop in to talk a little bit about their legislative day that Dee mentioned.
Excellent. I see Mitchell with a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention, you know, besides the announcement, besides the March 5th election, there's also party caucuses are coming up. The Democratic caucuses on March 9th at the Riley School. So I would encourage folks to check that out. It will be electing delegates to not just the state convention, but also a First Middlesex District Conference to elect additional members of the state party committee. I know Zoe is one of the people who will be up for election in that case. I want to mention that as well.
Okay. If there isn't Anything else? Let's move on to our feature presentation. Sam Salem. Sam leads of the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance, leads the coordination between MHSA and more than 20 permanent supportive housing providers to identify and implement key system improvements. She brings over 7 years human services experience, having previously worked as a community mental health case manager and in an emergency shelter. She has a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology, in addition to a master's in criminology and criminal justice from Merrimack College. So Sam, we're going to turn it over to you. And if anyone has any questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand.
Awesome. I just want to begin by thanking you all for welcoming me today, and to Chris for reaching out and asking if I wouldn't mind talking about Home and Healthy for Good with this group today. So I actually had the opportunity to speak about Home and Healthy for Good at the February's Hunger Homelessness Commission meeting, and Chris thought that this group would be interested in hearing more about it as well. And I had the opportunity to put together some slides, so I will share my screen momentarily. I want to make sure that I can see you all when I'm presenting, so I might have to move my windows around. Awesome. I will now share my screen. And you can just let me know if you see the presentation.
There it is.
Awesome. And let me just pull up my notes over to me then. Now that I know that you all can see me, I was really worried about that. Awesome. So once again, thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, particularly with, fellow Lowellians who, are concerned community members. And I think that's, always really great to be in the company of folks like all of you. So I'll go to the next slide. So as it was said in the introduction, I work at the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance, otherwise known as MHASA. We are a unique organization that both advocates on behalf of those experiencing homelessness, but also housing and shelter providers. We believe that housing should be a right and is the solution to homelessness. Within my role of program manager at MHASA, I support programs that have decided to receive their state funding through MHASA as an intermediary, meeting MHASA contracts with the state, and that organization most often is the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, and then subcontracts out to our housing and shelter providers. One of these forms of funding is Home and Healthy for Good, also known as HHG, which MHASA serves as the administrator. This means I monitor programs for their compliance with their subcontracts, provide technical assistance, such as talking with programs around maybe a challenging, incident that may have happened at a program, or helping them, stretch a budget. And then also in supporting and creating annual and amended budgets when, money may be coming in or towards the end of the fiscal year. And also elevate the concerns of those who work on the front lines of this critical work. And as you can see up on the slides, just a little bit more about us. And I've been at MHASA now for just over 1.5 years, and I have to say that I work with some really lovely people, and I am so lucky to do this work every day. Getting started, I just wanted to kind of get us going with some definitions about some phrasing that'll be coming up a lot in this presentation. I think it's really important that we're able to, make sure that everyone, can, engage in conversations about housing and homelessness, because ultimately it does affect all of us, because, we all should have a place to live. So first up, we have supportive housing, which it's a form of housing that pairs affordable housing that is safe, secure, and permanent with supportive services that are flexible, person-centered, and voluntary to increase housing stability and improve well-being. Supportive housing is one model of housing that comes out of Housing First, which is a philosophy which is basically a set of person-centered principles and driven by that individual's choices and needs. And access to permanent housing is not contingent on sobriety, completion of treatment, participation in services, or other unnecessary conditions. And that speaks to in the first part where we see that the services should be person-centered and voluntary. Lastly, we have low threshold permanent supportive housing. And this is supportive housing where an individual's residency is established with a sublease and operated under Housing First principles. So this is basically marrying Housing First principles with supportive housing. We get low threshold permanent supportive housing, and this is because, you know, barriers to accessing and sustaining housing are minimal, so that highly vulnerable people with complex disabling conditions who may not be able to manage tenancies in a non-supportive housing may benefit from this type of housing. So what that basically means is that, as we know, lots of folks who have experienced long-term or chronic homelessness may also have very complex and chronic health conditions. And it's really hard to appropriately address them when you don't have a permanent place to stay. So for this reason, low threshold permanent supportive housing is a great option for individuals who may fit that criteria. I want to just kind of give us a background to orient ourselves with housing and homelessness in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts is currently addressing an estimated shortage of 200,000 housing units. We need to reach this number of new units by the end of the decade in order to keep up with what's expected to be needed in terms of housing units. And state development efforts must include below market rent, deeply affordable, subsidized public and supportive housing units. We need a blend of, we need a blended response to this matter. But of these, there must be 10,000 that are supportive housing units for households experiencing chronic and high need homelessness with disabling conditions. And the main reason why we find that housing is so inaccessible in Massachusetts is that Massachusetts has a rental vacancy rate of only 2.8%, and that's the lowest rate in the nation. And because the vacancy rate is so low, because the housing inventory is so low, it can cause rents to be incredibly high and inaccessible to most people. And also the state housing wage in Massachusetts is $41.64 per hour to afford a 2-bedroom rental at fair market rent, which fair market rent is a determinant by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And that does not mean that it's like the fair rent for what market prices. And what that means is what a HUD voucher or federal housing voucher will cover up to in a community. An example of this is that the fair market rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in 2024 in Boston is $2,400. That means that HUD would be willing to cover a Section 8 voucher up to that amount, but not anymore. And as we all know, that sounds incredibly high, and you would be correct. It's ranked third highest in the nation. I abridged this from some sources that were provided to me by my lovely colleagues. So I was really, grateful that I could sort of set the scene with this information here. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Home and Healthy for Good. So Home and Healthy for Good is a line in the state budget that is completely administered by Mahasa. And I guess that the best way to think about of Home and Healthy for Good is that this is one avenue that is going to allow us to address this scarcity of housing in our state. And the reason why this is one tool to help us get to where we need to be is because it's flexible funding and it funds our systems change work at Mahasa. And that flexibility is one of the most critical features of HHG funding. So up on my slides, I have just a little bit of information about HHG. So I'm going to dive in just quickly, pulling out some things here. So individuals who would be considered eligible for HHG funding or to be served by supportive housing providers are those who have experienced chronic or long-term homelessness, who have complex medical and behavioral challenges. And like I said before, because these funds are flexible, they can be used for a wide variety of reasons and needs at an organization, including fill gaps where other funding may not be able to step in. And so far in 2024, we have invested $2 million into the development of permanent supportive housing statewide. And this is just one more step in getting us to that number of 10,000 units we need by 2030. And I put this last talking point because I think it's really important to talk about that, how that homelessness is incredibly expensive when individuals' care is not being managed by a primary care provider or through the support services that they need. The wraparound case management that's provided in supportive housing decreases how many people may have to seek care in an emergency room, or may have to call for an ambulance, or may have to, take on these acute health services that are really unaffordable. This is one thing that I think is an important talking point, is that housing is a cost-effective way to end homelessness, especially when you're trying to, unfortunately, that is, tends to be helpful when talking about solving homelessness. A little bit more about Home and Healthy for Good is our systems change work. So beyond the funding of creating new housing and support services, the language in the line item in the state budget supports MHASA's critical systems change work. And this includes what I'm doing here with you all tonight, and partnering, and in addition to partnering with supportive housing providers to address the challenges that may come up in doing this work. We have created a community of practice statewide. These just kicked off last month, and we just had our second meeting this week. We have over 150 people who have signed up for these meetings, and we have about over 120 different organizations who signed up. And it's this peer space where it's a safe space as well to share and learn from one another. So we're able to collaborate and strategize to solve homelessness together. And also providing individualized technical assistance for providers in communities. Once again, what I'm doing tonight, and also what I'm able to do with my programs that I work with every day. And we also gather and analyze data on supportive housing inventory and population to inform planning and policy. Like I said before, another function of MHASA is that we are an advocacy organization. So it's really important for us to have the facts and have that inform the policy that we're advocating for. And we're also trying to stay on the front lines of emerging issues relating to individual homelessness, and making sure that we're able to convene stakeholders to develop solutions. Some of these trends that you all may be seeing too is that is particularly aging in homelessness. We are finding that the population with the sharpest rise in first-time homelessness are those who are 55 plus. So right now we are trying to address the needs of those who may be aging while unfortunately being unhoused. And also we partner with the state in order to identify systemic barriers and work toward a plan to end homelessness. Once again, I do feel very lucky to work here and to do the work that I do, because I feel that I'm able to elevate the concerns of those who are doing the work and those who are receiving services, to those who are in a position to hopefully change things. So I do want to talk about some challenges. So due to the state's tax revenue being much lower than in past years, we are concerned about potential cuts to line items in the budget in FY25. This is concerning given the worsening housing crisis. And this is a challenge we expect to see for many programs, including HHG. And my colleague, Caitlin, she's our senior policy director. She put together a quote that I want to share with you all because I think that this sums it up perfectly. Massachusetts is in a housing crisis. Individual shelters are full or over capacity, and unsheltered homelessness is growing in communities across the state, all while the state revenue situation is challenging. We need to respond to the current crisis for individuals experiencing homelessness and be smart about how we do it. And like I just shared earlier, ultimately, it is cost effective for the taxpayer for us to solve homelessness with housing. So HHG is just one of the 8 ways that we're able to get there. So, definitely keep your eyes on the fiscal year 2025 state budget as it's moving through the Senate and the House. And of course, if there are any advocacy concerns around HHG or any other line items that may be related to homelessness, I will be sure to keep you all in the loop. But I know that Dan, who's on this call, does a really great job of keeping up to date with all of the challenges to funding that may be going on in the State House. So I definitely look forward and I'm appreciative of those emails. But if there's anything else that you all may be able to help out with in terms of advocacy, I'll be sure to let you know. And thank you for letting me talk a little bit about Home and Healthy for Good tonight. I thought since you all are Lowellians, I'd share this photo I took from the back of my apartment of the Merrimack River back in the fall. My contact information is up on the screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I am happy to see if I can be of any help. And that's all I have for you all today. I would love to answer some questions now or just be in conversation with you all around supportive housing, Home and Healthy for Good funding, or just individual homelessness altogether. Yes, Dan.
Sam, a lot of the 3 models that you identified, a lot depends on the agency that's providing the wraparound services. And I know that Mahasa does it really well. And how much oversight do you have with the agencies that you fund to do these?
Yeah, so our agencies that we work with go through annual monitoring of their programs. So we call them site visits. So I work with programs all over the state. We're a statewide organization. So I have a site visit coming up in a few weeks. We'll be going out to Springfield to go meet with one of my programs. And we also do monitoring in the form of desk reviews where we ask folks to upload forms or any type of language that they may be using with the folks that they work with. So then in terms of HHG, I'm looking through those documents, making sure that all the language, all the program agreements, everything that is, being utilized is being looked at through a housing first lens, because that's, the top priority.
Do you have a project in Lowell?
So we do fund HHG projects in Lowell right now, in the permanent supportive housing. There's been a few barriers that I can't really get into on this call, but we are also funding some development that's happening in Lowell right now. Those are 2 separate agencies, but we're doing some development of housing right now, and there's some existing housing as well. So we do have HHG in Lowell, so definitely great to be here with you all.
And last question, is Mahasa doing any advocacy around the EA individual account? Because it was level funded and the need is certainly expanded.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you asking that. So for Mahasa, we advocate, our policy focus is on individual homelessness. That is where we certainly focus our advocacy. And definitely right now, there's no doubt that the family homelessness crisis across the country, but particularly in the state of Massachusetts, is out of control. But I think our main focus is to make sure that we're not pitting 2 groups against each other for scarce resources. So I think There's lots of organizations that are doing direct advocacy for families, and we're in full support of that. But we are personally focusing on individuals because in Massachusetts, there is no right to housing for individuals. So, we believe that as there is a right to shelter for families, that there should be that for individuals as well.
Right, but the individual family, the individual shelter system for unaccompanied adults is their funding, their line item is level funded for this year.
Yes, it was. I believe it was level funded, but I do believe that the Coalition for Homeless Individuals is seeking an increase because it's not looking to be enough. I think I did share some points of advocacy from them at the Hunger Homelessness Commission meeting earlier this month.
But for this group, that's something to watch as well, because that's what funds the Lowell Transitional Living Center.
Yes, that is correct.
Zoe has her hand up.
Sorry. So thank you for that great presentation, Sam. It was really thorough. What caught my attention was the age, where you indicated that 55 plus adults are the largest growing folks for homelessness. I didn't know that, or I wasn't aware of that. I do. So my question is, does your organization also help develop 55 plus communities within urban districts? Because a lot of the times I see those types of development in the suburbs, right? And so, and if we're trying to care for, everybody and these folks that are now, getting older, it hurts my heart. But so I wanted to, that's the first question. And then the second question is, you indicated that that you are involved in several projects within Lowell, but not directly, but I guess in some way. Are there any plans for your organization to directly increase housing within the Lowell area?
Thank you, Zoe. Those are some great questions. So the first one, I'm happy to talk more about elder homelessness. Like I said, so I've been at Mahasa for just over a year and a half. And over my first year working there and going out to programs and doing site visits, one of the questions I would ask programs is there anything that's come up over the past year that's been a new challenge, or things that, maybe you haven't seen in the past? And I heard more than a few times that lots of providers are encountering folks who are experiencing homelessness for the first time now as being elderly. And, this is for a variety of reasons, whether, rents are going up, people are unfortunately being priced out, or due to failing health, they're unable to maintain a place. And then that leads to them losing their housing. Maybe their building gets sold. When it comes to Mahasa funding, programs that are specifically for 55 plus, all the permanent supportive housing for HHG there's no necessary age limit or restriction. I just think that they have to be adults, and they have to have a complex and disabling condition. One thing that I will say is that one program that we have recently funded, it's out in Northampton, Massachusetts, and that was founded by a doctor who was seeing these complex needs in the community and these health needs, and was like, we need permanent supportive housing where people can be supported medically in affordable spaces. To speak to the issue you're speaking to directly, that oftentimes it's in suburbs, particularly more wealthy areas, particularly more white areas, there'll be assisted living homes that are private pay, and there's really not any resources for folks who are either very low income or even middle income. So there are more solutions coming from providers. So as a funding and advocacy organization, we don't deliver any services. We fund them, provide support and oversight. But when we meet with people who have these really unique and needed ideas, we're all about innovation. And those are the people that we definitely want to continue working with. And and then in terms of HHG and Lowell and making more housing, like I said, one of the programs that we have invested in this year, over $2 million. One of those projects is in Lowell, and they will be building multiple units of permanent supportive housing and providing wraparound services as well. So, and I know for me, working there and, trying to somehow sneak Lowell into my paid day-to-day job, I definitely try to advocate as much as I can because I see it every day. I live here, I grew up here. I'm with all of you. Right now I'm wearing my professional pants, but just know my concerned community member pants are right under those. So it's both. And I know that we need more housing here and definitely more permanent supportive housing, just to guarantee the success of our formerly unhoused neighbors as they move into this next stage of their life. Yes, Joseph.
Thanks. I wanted to back up what Zoe was saying about the value of doing affordable units, supportive housing for the elderly. I was previously with the Coalition for a Better Acre. I don't know if they're one of your partners, and we were very interested in doing a project like that for the reasons you gave, but one other. Most of the units that you'd be developing for 55 and older or elderly housing would be 1-bedroom, maybe 2-bedroom units. And there would be, and a lot of them would be occupied by people who were moving out of larger units, 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom units. And so for the cost of developing 2-bedroom units, what you're doing is opening up a 4-bedroom unit, a naturally affordable 4-bedroom unit. So it's that particular variety, elderly in cities can really produce a lot of affordable housing bang for the buck.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with me, and I'll definitely take that back with me because that's one of the things that we always want is that thinking, and that's even one thing we think about permanent supportive housing. We think about there very well, many people move into permanent supportive housing, and that's where they're going to be throughout their whole life. There's no term. As long as they're on that lease, as long as they're on that sublease, they will be a part of that program. But there is a part of that population that moves into permanent supportive housing that could do well in independent housing and don't necessarily need the wraparound services. So that's something we're even talking about as well, is that when we free up space in permanent supportive housing by giving people high quality support services so they're able to get the stability that they need at this first stepping stone, once they move into their own independent unit, then that frees it up for someone else who's just coming off homelessness into housing. So very similar to what you're saying, as people may grow out of a space, either by just changes in their life, there's always another person that can benefit from that housing as well. Anybody else? John.
Thank you for the presentation. A lot of us are involved with trying to advocate for better municipal policies with respect to dealing with homeless folks and just generally improving affordability of housing. I don't know if your group does policy advocacy, and if it does, and I know you don't, I don't want you to say anything you don't want to say, but is there some general policies that you recommend that all municipalities do when it comes to making them to promote both affordable housing and also to address homelessness? Those are two separate issues, I know, but we're sort of looking for what policies we should be advocating for. You got any suggestions for us?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, John. And I just want to say that, that is one of our main functions is policy and advocacy. And like I said to, Dan's point before, one of the things that we really want to keep an eye on is, individual homelessness, because there is like I said before, there is no right to shelter for individuals in the state of Massachusetts. So, single adults, they don't get that guarantee. So we always want to make sure that we are keeping, them in the forefront. And I think particularly, I mean, I can't give a particular recommendation of like what we think the best practice is for the city of Lowell. But what I will say is that this is a statewide housing crisis. Homelessness is nationwide, and we're seeing it here in Massachusetts, absolutely. And particularly after many years of making progress, bringing down the numbers of unhoused individuals, they've gone up in the last few years. So of course that means something has to give. And one thing I will say is that we firmly believe that the solution to housing is homelessness. But in the meantime, because it takes time to build units, it takes time to, renovate, commercial spaces, takes time to advocate to city governments who may be fighting NIMBYism to get these built or renovated. In the meantime, we need to be funding our individual shelter providers as well. So it's like a twofold. Like we need housing, but that of course takes time. But in the meantime, we cannot be leaving individuals behind either. So I guess like this overall Mahasa messaging, I would say that those are things that we hold to be pretty true. When it comes to things that the city of Lowell can be doing, definitely developing deeply affordable units. That's something that needs to be a part of that 200,000 we need by the end of the decade. 10,000 need to be permanent supportive housing. More than that need to be deeply affordable. Because the reality is that housing is really expensive. I'm a Lowell resident. Rent's crazy. When I was looking for a place to live, I was kind of shocked by when I saw a 0 on some rents. Okay. In places it's very surprising. And, and that's what I'm constantly, telling my providers, folks that I work with, and that that housing right now just feels more precarious than ever, and that we just need to make sure that we're protecting it for people, that people aren't afraid of one emergency potentially costing them their apartment. That precariousness is not what we want as a community. So, and one of the ways to ease that stress that so many people are feeling is by creating more housing. And I know in a place like Lowell, it's an older city. It was made during the Industrial Revolution, and it's pretty built up. That oftentimes there may be people saying like, oh well, where are we going to build? Where the space is already really taken up. And that's like where we start to be creative and be like, well, why not a mixed use building? Why not we renovate maybe let's say we renovate like this building that's closed, and now it's going to become permanent supportive housing, or we're going to make it deeply affordable housing. I know that you all that's been happening in Lowell to some degree. I know I've been really happy to see the progress that's been being made on Merrimack Street with the housing that they've been building. Like I said, I live in the Acre, so I take my walks downtown and back. I've been passing that construction timeline over the past year or so. So really happy to see a progress is being made over there. And I just hope to see that we are continuing to develop more housing in Lowell that is deeply affordable to all. Mitchell?
Hey, Sam. Yeah, and I know, like to your point about, saying, well, where does it go? Yeah, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I spoke in favor of the ADU ordinance last year, because, that's for sticking more units on existing lots. Do you work with Todd Chan over at the Housing Authority at all, or,
So I do not work with the Lowell Housing Authority, but
okay.
I definitely get opportunities to talk to folks from all over Lowell through work. I know like I'll be attending, it was rescheduled from February. Now I think it will be a couple weeks in March. There will be the Northern Middlesex Coalition of Governance. They will be having their kickoff for the at home in Greater Lowell. And so I'll be attending that, and that'll be an opportunity always for me to network and get my name out there. I'm always trying to find opportunities to, really network with folks in the community and see, who, shares these values and shared mission of, ending homelessness through the creation of affordable housing.
Yeah.
So hopefully you all, either see me around town, either just, at Market Basket or just doing my thing, or maybe I'll see you at other meetings. But I do feel really lucky that I get to use my day job to sort of advocate for a community that I care a lot about.
I know Todd's been really pushing for a couple of currently vacant lots, one of them newly vacant on Merrimack Street to be redeveloped. I don't know if you've heard about it, those projects that he proposed.
I haven't, but maybe I'll run into them in a couple
Okay.
weeks. But also, like I said, I will also have to, take a peek at Merrimack Street myself, but because I did not
Yep.
know there was a vacant lot. And I appreciate anytime anything local gets brought to my attention. I'm sure, like all of you, sometimes things can feel like information overload, and you're trying to keep up with so much all the time. So I admit that I don't have all the answers and I'm always learning. So I really appreciate you bringing that to my attention, Mitchell, and I will do some Googling later.
Yeah, it's one of them is the one diagonally across from the new building.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Ryan, I think I saw your hand go up.
Without naming names, how many developers are you in contact with who are legitimately interested in creating affordable housing as opposed to maximizing quarterly bottom lines and minimizing legal liability? Because I know that's a constant fight in this field.
I appreciate that question, Ryan. I would say all of them, because in order people apply to work with us and to get this funding, and then we consistently monitor them and provide them support. Of course, we're not there every day to ensure that everything's being done perfectly. These are people who deliver these services from organizations that may be trying to stretch funding to make things work, and things may not be perfect all of the time. And I say that as someone who worked on the front lines and, was, one of those minimum wage workers who may have been, doing that at the beginning of my career, having high caseloads. And that's not how it should be. Within our HHG scope of services, we recommend that the average caseload should be 1 to 15 so people can get the intense wraparound support services that they need. And when it comes to development of permanent supportive housing, that's a key part of it. So that's really important to us. So when people come into this, they are sort of introduced to those expectations. And when they sign to do this work, they're agreeing to be able to do that. And then if there's any concerns that maybe that's not happening, or they may need support in finding ways to do it, that's when we come in and we provide that technical assistance. So, it might be having conversations with folks saying, I appreciate that your program guide was something you used in another program. This is a housing first program. So some of the rules you have on here aren't, housing first. How can we adjust them? Or what may have happened that might have caused these to be created? Could there be a different use of language here? Like, no, that type of thinking and support to understand that, assuming the best intentions that these programs are trying to support some of our most vulnerable community members the best they can, while understanding that they may be also, struggling with short staffing and also limited funds. I know that's something that I have been hearing a lot as well, is that the workforce crisis is really hitting these frontline positions, because ultimately, because of funding, the pay is not competitive. So positions can stay open for a very long time, which can cause delays in programs opening. It can cause delays in maybe bringing more people into a program, because it might, take folks services away from another people. So it can be very complex, but we want to always assume good intentions and support folks to get to where they need to be in order to do this work. And I'm being mindful of time. It is 6:55, or being close to. So I do want to make sure that I don't talk too much, but I will just say thank you so much for having me tonight. It was great to be here with all of you, and thank you all for your great questions. Like I said, I think my contact information was sent out to you all. If you have any other questions, be happy to get in touch. So thank you.
Okay. All right, and thank you. Hold on just one moment. All right. Oops. Ooh. Sorry, folks. Little bit of an issue here. All right. So thank you, Sam. The organization again was the Massachusetts Housing and Shelter Alliance. Our next meeting is going to be held on Sunday, March 24th at 5:30. We are still deciding between Zoom only and hybrid meetings. That's we're gonna keep an eye on things and see which one we want to do. Our policy for these meetings, just so everybody knows, is that when numbers are up, we will meet via Zoom only. When in person, attendees are required to show proof of a negative COVID test and to wear a mask. We will let you know in the next announcement whether we are in hybrid or whether we're going to be back on Zoom entirely again. So if you want to join us online, we have a Facebook page, public events, photos, and more. We also have a Facebook group if you want to participate in the discussion, have access to all events, including the members only stuff. The page is more public facing, and the Facebook group is more for us. We have a website, solidaritylowell.com. We are on Instagram, Twitter, as we still say, and these meetings, we record them to put them on YouTube, so you can keep up with us on those. Thank you very much for attending, and we will see you at the next meeting.